Hey there, my name is Brighton. Welcome back to another midweek. I am joined with Pastor Rob here, who just gave our past Sunday's message. We are in James chapter 2, the back half of James chapter 2, verses 14 through 26, a faith that works.
There it is.
A faith that works. All right. And so in your message, we're just going to jump right in. You reference Cain and Abel.
Right.
As the analogy of what James is talking about here.
Right.
And they both are giving an offering to God. But one is pleasing and one is not pleasing to God.
Right. So there's a way where we can do the exact same thing, but if our heart's not right, if our motives aren't right, if the order in which we do it's not right, it can be offensive to God, right? Like if I tithe, well, it's easy because everyone talks about money, but if I tithe out of my leftovers or I do it begrudgingly, like that's not pleasing to God. Tithe is God doesn't need your money, he doesn't need anything. What he wants is your heart, and he wants it to be worshipful. And so when you have Cain, who just brings some vegetables, like I know I gotta go do this, so I'm gonna give him an offering. And then you juxtapose that with Abel, who brings the best that he has, right? And it's first fruits. It's like, man, this sheep was just born, it's spotless, it's amazing, and it's fatted, we're gonna bring that in. That's an act of worship. Cain's was like, I gotta do this. But Abel's is like, it's an act of worship.
Right.
And it goes to kind of what Jesus was talking about, the two most important commandments, which is love God and then love people. And so if you love God, you're gonna, just like you love your spouse or you love your significant other, you're thinking about them and you're gonna wanna do things for them. And it's not this like, I have to go do this, I'm gonna go do FaceTime and whatever. It's like, no, I get to spend time, I get to worship, I get to be with God, and so I'm gonna do that. And it's a different motivation, and it should look and it should feel different.
Would you say that it's kind of like a have to versus get to?
Right.
Like if you feel like, oh, I have to do this for God, versus I have the pleasure to get to do this to glorify God.
And what's the motive, right? The motive is that we know that Jesus came and he lived a perfect life, and out of an overflow of his love for us, he provides a way for us to reconcile, to reunify with God at such a deep level. And so it's not like I'm gonna earn and deserve. That's kind of like that mentality is. Like if I have to do this for God, it means like I'm trying to earn and deserve. But if you get to do it, it means it's flowing out of an understanding of, I'm giving God a little bit of what he did for me in sacrificing Christ and dying for me and my sins. So I'm just gonna, like, because of that, I get to, it's a good way of putting it. I've never thought that I have to do something for God. Like everything that I get to do, whether it's being the student pastor, or whether it's hanging out and doing Bible studies with students, doing things like that, like that's a privilege and it's an honor. And like I get to do those things. And if it ever turns into like I have to, then that's like maybe it's a symptom that my heart's not right.
And then you talk about two greatest commandments. Love God, love people. So how does that tie into a faith that works?
So loving God should cause you to love what he loves, right? Like if you see a married couple, they've been married for like 60 years. They're almost the same. They start to look at each other. And so poor Crystal. But like they start to look alike, they act alike, they think alike, they understand things. And so if you truly love God, and then we love him on a more intimate level because that's who he is. Then we're gonna start to love people. We're gonna start to see people the way that he does. And it's gonna cause us to live differently. It's this idea of earning and deserving. Like that's the main difference. If I'm gonna do works as a way to earn my salvation or to prove that I'm saved, I'm gonna do this kind of thing. Like that's the wrong motivation. I don't know. It's not even a choice that you start to live differently. Like it's as soon as you know what Christ has done for you and you accept God's love. Like I don't know if you can truly have experienced salvation and the forgiveness of sins and the fact that now we're clothed in Christ's righteousness without somehow trying to express that love in a different way. And it should act as a catalyst to propel you. Like we're not saved by our actions.
Right.
That's not it. And that's not what That's not what James is saying.
Right.
What he's saying, he and Paul are actually saying the exact same thing. Like, it's our faith in Christ and in what God did, and that then leads us to live differently. And then through living differently, we're gonna do things for Christ.
Yeah.
And so people often pit them against each other as like it's got to be faith or it's got to be works.
Yeah.
But what James is saying is no, it's faith and works.
Yeah.
It's together.
Yeah. James says in verse 18 in chapter 2, I will show you my faith by my deeds.
Correct.
So it's not that one or the other.
Right.
But that your deeds are stemming from kind of like the have to get to.
Right.
I get to do these deeds for God.
Yeah.
Because my faith is so strong.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good.
Great. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Hopefully that was good for you. That was a great conversation. It was like simple, right to the point. Like you said, James, he keeps touching on this.
Yeah.
So it's just good to get that reminder coming from a different angle that James is continuing to remind us that we're not just, okay, we've said this prayer, we're locked in, like going to heaven, but that we are called.
122, he wants us to be doers of the word, not hearers only, because then that's when you deceive yourself.
Yep.
So you got to get out there, you got to read the Bible, do what it says.
Yep.
And when you do that, you meet Jesus in a very real, relevant way. It just sort of flows naturally.
Yeah. It's Jesus definitely modeled that for us as well. So great. Hopefully that was great encouragement to you. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you back next week.